Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Newcastle Fans TV. This video is sponsored by OneFootball, and here's me telling you about it.
Hello everyone, this video is sponsored by OneFootball. OneFootball is the app that you all need. We all have it here at Newcastle Fans TV to get all the latest information on Newcastle United and the Premier League. And January is going to be huge as well with the January transfer window. Make sure you download OneFootball to get all the latest information on incomings and outgoings on Newcastle United.
Yes, we are proudly sponsored by OneFootball. The link will be in the description below. It'll have all the latest transfer gossip, rumours, and it'll have the truth as well. It'll have the likes of the Kieran Trippier, Chris Wood, and maybe Diego Carlos, and maybe Jesse Lingard, and maybe somebody else. But we'll have to go through all of them later on this evening. I'm here with Matt, Harry, and Liam, dressing gown and all as well. Good evening to you all.
Evening, mate.
Good evening.
Hello.
I thought you were going to say Ari. I was expecting that from him. Ari?
I was just making sure I liked the video on YouTube first, and then I'm gonna pay attention now. So.
Definitely. Get all your comments in. We'll get some of them out as soon as we can. We've got Lee in the background doing all his magnificent work, but we're going to talk all things transfers. And for the first half or so, in the second half, we'll talk Leeds United versus Newcastle. Two loves of Matt. We'll go into that a little bit later on in the show, but we'll start with transfers. We'll start with Diego Carlos and Harry. Diego Carlos. I think after the Watford game, we were all going, we'll pay 50, we'll pay 60, we'll pay 70 million euros for Diego Carlos after the last 20 minutes of the game against Watford. But it seems it was close, and now it's not as close as it was. £30 million is on the table. Do you think that'll be enough for Sevilla?
Doesn't sound like it is, does it? Because another Premier League club matched it, didn't they? Doesn't sound like it is. Apparently, they're wanting to wait until after the weekend, aren't they? Which is just another blow for us. Definitely looks impossible for him to be in the squad against Leeds right now, which seemed the most vital thing last weekend when we were speaking after Watford. So, yeah, it's a real shame that we haven't managed to get a centre-back in at all before Watford, before Leeds. So it looks like we'll just have to settle for at least get one, if not two, in before the end of the window. But quite disappointing, really. But, you know, you cannot expect too much. January is always a difficult window.
Yeah, January is a very, very difficult window. As Keith Downey has put in his tweet, Newcastle do remain hopeful of getting this move done for Diego Carlos, despite reports in Spain last night saying that he was set to stay at Sevilla. But the two clubs are getting closer. Now, this London club that play in white, Matt, who go by the name of Tottenham Hotspur, have also put in a bid for Diego Carlos, matching Newcastle's bid. Surely they're not going to be able to match the wages that Newcastle can offer Diego Carlos, can they?
Yeah, I don't know how much truth there is to this rumour that they've matched the bid. I mean, obviously, the transfer rumours fly around left, right and centre every day. We don't know how much truth there is to any of them, but it wouldn't make sense for Spurs to go out and splash 50 million on a centre-back like that. I mean, the defence isn't the weakest point in their team, and for Conte to go in January, halfway through the transfer window, with no real previous interest, I will take him just because Newcastle are interested. It just seems like someone's stirring up rumours to bump the price up for Newcastle a little bit. That's what it seems like. But yeah, on the wages front as well, we know what Tottenham are like for penny pinching, so they won't be able to match us in that department. But then again, you've got a player that's giving up European football. So would he want to play with you in Europe with Spurs next season if they get, top six, whatever it is they're challenging for? That's if there is any truth to the bid, of course. But, there's the player saying he wants to come one day. He's officially handed in a transfer request. And then there's Spanish press saying that he's staying until the end of the season. It's all up in the air. It's turned into a bit of a soap opera, which is what we really didn't want to happen. We wanted simple business like Kieran Trippier and Chris Wood. But it's turned into a bit of a back and forth, which I'm sure a lot of fans are frustrated with. I personally am.
Yeah, frustrating was the word that we used, Harry, wasn't it? Frustrating for the last few weeks and months almost. And he's made. You look at his appearances. Obviously, he's at Sevilla at the minute, but he has played for Nantes as well. But he's done exceptionally well at a lot of clubs. I was listening to Tim Vickery on Sky Sports describing him, Liam. He's an all-out central defender. He does have the error in him, but he will improve Newcastle tenfold. He has a release clause of 85 million euros. Now, Guillaume Balaguer says that Newcastle are going to have to almost double their offer for even Sevilla to be tempted. Do you think that Diego Carlos at 29 is worth 50 million euros, for example?
Right now, if you're looking at it, you could say it was seasoned. Do you know what I mean? Like a solid defender out of the back, but then every defender, you're seeing, he's got errors in him. But then so is every defender. Virgil van Dijk's got one in him every so often. I think Sevilla are just playing hardball. We just got to try and take their bluff. I think that's what it is. Obviously, the closer they go to the end of the window, or the closer we get to the end of the window, I think we'll start to see the bluff being called a bit, because probably in the summer you would go for even less than what he is going for now. So I think it's just a weird one. Like Matt was saying, he handed in a transfer request, and he was telling Spanish news that he wanted to stay, and then he's put on Instagram today laughing about it. Just like it's just typical Newcastle thing. It's like never easy, but it's fun and games for people that aren't Newcastle fans.
Very much so. It always is fun and games with the January transfer window. Harry, it does seem that Sevilla want to wait because Jules Koundé is out for them this weekend. So they want Diego Carlos to play this weekend's game, which is a bit of a hammer blow for Newcastle because they don't have another game for 2 and a bit weeks after they play Leeds. Can this be a positive for Newcastle because they have that distance now between now until the end of the window that they can take a little bit more time in getting this deal done and beating off any competition? Or do they just need to get the deal done pretty much straight away from that final whistle from when Sevilla play over the weekend?
Yeah, I suppose they can take the time. Obviously, the sooner the better, because the sooner you get the player in, the more he can train with the team before the next game. But I don't know. I suppose if you're going to save more money, money's seemingly what matters in this deal. If you're going to save more money, then why not wait an extra day or two? But you don't want to drag it out until deadline day. You don't want to take that long because it's just going to frustrate everyone. And it kind of be unsettling as well for the outgoing players, because there'll be players whose place in the squad is up for debate and whether they need to leave or not. So it just be settling to get it over, sooner the better, really.
You can see it on your screen there. Look at Sevilla, second in the league behind Real Madrid. They've had a fantastic season so far, only 4 points behind Real Madrid, and they've played the same amount of games. The closest team to give them a bit of a chance in a title race this season. Matt, this is not the first central defender that Newcastle United have been playing hardball with, haven't they? Sven Botman, Badiashile, now Diego Carlos. It's becoming increasingly frustrating. When do you think Newcastle will go to their next central defender, or do you think they bite the bullet and pay that little bit extra?
I think it's one of those ones. I think they've had like you say, been knocked back from Botman. I mean, that's almost dead in the water now for certain. Barry Shields now injured as well, I think, so he's a non-viable option, and they've settled on Carlos. And the player seems keen, so I feel like they'll be pushing harder to get this done and over the line as soon as they can. Like you say, we've got the international break coming up. After the Leeds game, it will give us a nice buffer as well, because we won't be trying to rush the signing in before the next game in the space of a week. So we can go take our time to put a decent bid together, a bid that's going to get seriously considered by Sevilla. Because I think it was Harry said earlier, like he's not going to go for that in the summer. His value is only going to decrease come the summertime. So they'll want to cash in now, which means, I mean, they've got good backups, Sevilla. It's not like they're losing out particularly. They've not got a particularly shallow squad. So I think we'll get him in eventually, but it's probably one of those deals that's going to creep over the deadline or something like that. That's just going to get done on deadline day or a couple of days before it, because I can't see it happening anytime soon. I think Sevilla, they know they're in the seat of power here. They'll drag it out for as long as possible and make it as painful as possible for us.
Liam, just finally on Diego Carlos, are you worried that he could be lured into going to Tottenham? The fact that they're in London, they're in the back of the top four. Antonio Conte is the manager. Are you worried by that?
I think you've got to be worried because of I think they're pretty much guaranteed European football, regardless whether it's Europa League or Champions League. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, then you've got the second Europa League now, so it's always a concern. But I think what the problem is now with all these clubs is that they just know we've got money, so they're expecting we're to chuck 100 millions at every single player. But it's just going to be one of them things with Diego Carlos, it's just going to go down to the wire. We'll probably get him on the last day of the season, and that's going to then that last day of the transfer window, that's going to be that. But hopefully Diego Carlos sees the dream, sees he could be the Vincent company for the next couple of years, and then someone else can come in. But it'll just be interesting to watch the space. I think we just maybe need to start looking at other options, because we've got 11 days left of the window now. Plus, we need to get other players in, so it'll be interesting to see what we've got on the back burner.
I've heard that he's actually seen the film Goal. He loved that scene where Santiago Munez was running on the beach in Longsan's timeout and was running past Crusoe's and thought I'd have a bit of that. That's what I personally thought, Liam. I don't know if you thought exactly the same.
Yeah, that just seems to be the stereotype statement when I you're not happy in goal and I wanted to play for you. It's just like, well, did not watch the second one when he went to Real Madrid, so.
Very much so. Tottenham joined the race with Diego Carlos, says the Chronicle. Sky weren't very cryptic about which London team it was, but everybody kind of knew online it was Tottenham that had joined the race. Antonio Conte must have seen what he likes as well. Remember to subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV and like this video. You can also become a member. The link will be in the description below if you want to become a YouTube member as well. And you get so much more for that little bit extra as well, which is just at the bottom of your screen. Now, Jesse Lingard, Manchester United and England international. This one is getting more complicated by the minute. It really, really is. Manchester United would be happy for Jesse Lingard to go permanently. However, they want in the region of 10 to 12 million pounds for that deal to be done permanently. Is that too much, Matt?
Absolutely not. I think that's a bargain, personally. I know where...
For 3 months?
Well, it depends. If it's a permanent deal, you're paying 10, 15 million pounds for it, but it's in the region of 10 to 12, yeah. But at the start of the transfer window, I was saying that we should have gone in for a loan. They clearly don't want to loan him out, at least not with the fee that we've offered for the loan. He's not in Manchester United's plans. That's clear. They would have given him a new contract by now if he was. West Ham clearly don't want him. They would have gone back for him at the start of the season if they did. His career's winding down unless he makes a move and takes a leap of faith. And I think we're the club to be doing that for him. We're clearly keen on him. He brings something to our squad that we don't have in the team. He's clearly a good player. Still getting called up to the England side when he was that great form with West Ham. 10, 12 million pounds for me is a bargain. We've just paid the same for Kieran Trippier and no one batted an eyelid at that. So I don't see why anyone would say the same about Jesse Lingard. We can't 12 million pounds. You bear that in mind. We paid the same for John Joe Shelby and Matt Ritchie, 5 years ago, or however long it was now. You can't say that they're better than Lingard is, or yes, he's got 6 months on his contract. He's still a Man United player and he's still an England international. You're not going to get him for anything less than that. And yeah, like these comments are saying, stick a relegation clause in his contract. For me, he strikes me as the type of player that wouldn't mind a scrap in the Championship. He's getting to that stage in their career. I would see like him, maybe Trippier and Wood, if we did go down, being some of the core players that did stick with us. But
Matt, it's another worry about the World Cup, though. But he wants to be in that World Cup squad, doesn't he? So can you see him being in the Championship if he wants to play in the World Cup?
I mean, Gareth Southgate called Calvin Phillips up when he was in the Championship with Leeds United, so it's not unheard of under Gareth Southgate. So, and obviously Lingard has already been in that squad. It's not like he's taking a risk on a new player that's playing in the Championship. So, I saw someone on Twitter say, it's a no-brainer for the two clubs, Manchester United and Newcastle United. Obviously, they get a bit of cash in, we get a fantastic player. It's whether the player wants to come will be the issue, because, like you say, there's the risk of Championship football next season if it doesn't go well. And that's always the case. And some players are going to have to take a leap of faith. And I'm hoping that he can be one of them.
Yeah. Harry, he is a player that did exceptionally well at West Ham last year, scoring so many goals. I think he scored 9 goals for West Ham in a 6-month loan spell. So he is a fantastic footballer. From his point of view, like Matt says, he doesn't really want this to be a permanent deal just yet, unless there is clauses there. Now, do Newcastle have to accept that maybe for a player like Jesse Lingard, who is proven to be a very, very good Premier League player, that they just have to bite the bullet in this one and kind of almost give them what they want because of the predicament Newcastle in, especially if they don't get anything on Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. Whether it's a loan or permanent, we just need to get better players into our starting 11 until the end of the season. As we all know, the goal is short term very much. We just need to concentrate on staying up. So whether Lingard does or doesn't want to be a part of our future after this season, if it's a loan, fine. If he helps us keep us up, I'm sure a lot of our fans would be absolutely delighted with that. 9 goals and 4 assists in 16 games. If he could do a similar impact or anything close to that for us, I'm sure it would be a massive addition to us potentially surviving from relegation.
Liam, it wouldn't surprise you to see that Jesse Lingard scored 2 goals for Manchester United and one that was against Newcastle at Old Trafford. He would walk into Newcastle's team, surely.
Yeah, because no one can score. Do you know what I mean? He seems to now where the back of the net is compared to Ryan Fraser and ASM and Miggy. Obviously, ASM scored at the weekend, but we need to be a lot more clinical, and I don't think we've got that in the team at the moment. But it's an interesting one because I think, for me, I don't think Jesse Lingard would come permanently if we went down. I think he'll have all these release clauses in that. I think that's what's making it complicated, isn't it? But I think we just need to forget about the future and just focus on the now and just make sure over the next 5 months that we are in the Premier League. So just chuck 100 grand a week at him. Just give him a relegation clause if he does sign on a permanent. Give him a Champions League clause if anyone comes in for him, because he's not good enough for the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? But I think we just need to chuck money at players and just get them to come for 6 months and then just let them go where they want to go after that, and then focus on next season, the transfer market.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. Again, another player that has, a lot of interest. But the difference with this one, Matt, is that the teams that are interested in Jesse Lingard are West Ham United and Tottenham Hotspur, who are direct rivals in the battle for the top 4. So Newcastle have that advantage, unfortunately, because we're 19th in the Premier League. So surely Manchester United will only do business with Newcastle, and they will reject any permanent bid from West Ham or Tottenham because they can't do any business with a potential rival for the Champions League.
I mean, yeah, you'd think that from the Manchester United's point of view, but then their hands are tied. If Lingard says that he doesn't want to come here, then he walks at the end of his contract and goes for a free to Tottenham and West Ham. So do they bite the bullet and say, oh, well, actually, West Ham have offered us 10 mil, and if he doesn't want to go to Newcastle, then we just sell him to West Ham now, and yes, they get an extra 6 months out of him, but at least we're not losing him for free at the end of the summer. But I think this deal comes down to the player. I think that Man United would be daft to reject any kind of bid of significant value from us. Like you say, we're not a direct competitor compared to the other teams that are in for him. It would be a no-brainer for them to cash in on him now when he's going to walk in the summer. So from the club's perspective, the deal is essentially done, I'd imagine. It's just whether the player decides to come or not, and only time can tell. But I think he would be a fantastic addition. We saw the way he paired up with Antonio last season. Big man up top for West Ham. You've got to say Chris Wood's a similar kind of player. Lingard would thrive behind him. So I'd love him to be up here. I said this on, I think it was Coppish. I was on talking. I'd take Van der Beek and Lingard from Man United hands down. Whether they would want to come here is a different question.
I spoke to Fabrizio Romano through the week, and Van der Beek turned us down, and that was reported by other outlets as well. And another thing as well, Harry, is that if Jesse Lingard does come, who does he replace straight away? Does he go into that 2 central midfielding role, or does he play more of a number 10? And if he does, who does he take out of that team potentially?
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because at the minute we're kind of playing a 4-3-3, aren't we? Whether he would go into the front 3, replacing the likes of Ryan Fraser or ASM, or if he's going into the midfield, you'd think Sean Longstaff's place is seriously at risk. Who knows? I think we need more goals in midfield, but he's more of a number 10. He likes to play through the middle, doesn't he? I couldn't see him playing in the kind of role that Sean Longstaff or Joe Linton are playing in. So we might need to kind of change formation a bit. I'm not sure, but I'd like to see him through the middle as a number 10. Yeah.
Liam, do you see this happening? Does Jesse Lingard come? Is Jesse Lingard going to be in Newcastle shirt come February the 1st?
I think it was Matt said it's all down to the player. This one, isn't it? He could easily just sit on. I think there's a high possibility he's just going to just sit on the Man U bench and just waste another 6 months. So I'm about 20% hoping that he'll come, or realistic that he'll come. But I think he's going to still be in a Man U shirt come the 1st of Feb.
It's definitely. Sorry, John. It's difficult with the World Cup being when it is. It's a difficult one for a player because, like I said, like Liam says, you know, he could well sit on the Man United bench, but then if he goes somewhere for free in the summer, he's got 3 months roughly to prove himself before the World Cup comes around. So
it doesn't matter with Gareth Southgate; he just picks you even if you're out of form.
Well,
look at Marcus Rashford and Chris Wood have got the same amount of goals, and Marcus Rashford's England's golden boy. Do you know what I mean? He's been playing terrible, so whatever.
But yeah, so
Chris Wood be a New Zealand international.
They've got to be in the back of Lingard's mind, though. He'll probably be wanting regular game time to definitely keep his name in the hat because he is one of the fringe players that will get cut if everyone's fit and firing. So he wants to be proving himself. So if he's not going to get game time at West Ham or Man United, if they Man United, West Ham or Spurs, if they don't sell him to those clubs, then you think he might just bite the bullet, come here for 6 months. If it doesn't work out, jump ships. If we get relegated, yeah. So like you say, it's down to play.
It'd be very, very interesting if Jesse Lingard will be in Newcastle shirt, or as Liam's just mentioned, thinks that he will be still in a Manchester United shirt. Get your comments in whether you agree or disagree with Liam. Who's right, who's wrong? Let us know. I have to mention a couple more names before we go into the Leeds preview. Hugo Ekitike. Hope Sam Milner's listening to that pronunciation. The president of RMs, if that's how you pronounce that, because I'm not 100% sure on that one, came up with some fantastic quotes about Newcastle's offer. I think it was around about 29 million euros up front and certain bonuses. And one of the bonuses, Harry, was Newcastle winning the Champions League. Is that unrealistic?
Well, maybe not in about 5-10 years' time, but definitely not at the minute. That one seems to have slowed down a bit. Doesn't seem to look like it's going to happen, does it? Ekitike, obviously a promising player with 8 goals in 10 starts, but doesn't look like it's going to happen, does it?
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Spencer, in the comments of Rem, not Rems. So Rem is the answer to the team that Ekitike plays for. In terms of another signing, I have to mention, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this in the comments as well. Bernd Leno. Now, Pete Graves has mentioned that Bernd Leno is not in the Arsenal squad as they're currently playing Liverpool. Last time I've seen it, Liverpool were 1-0 up in their second leg in the League Cup. Leno not on the bench, of course. He's now second choice behind Aaron Ramsdale. Liam, if Bernd Leno was to come to Newcastle, and it seems like Bernd Leno, the only team that have been rumoured is Newcastle. I know Newcastle have been rumoured with a lot of players. I think it was 10,026 last time I checked. Would he get straight in? Is he better than Martin Dubravka? Because on form, Dubravka hasn't been brilliant since he's returned.
I wouldn't touch Bernd Leno with a barge ball. Arsenal clearly got a new keeper because he wasn't good enough, and I think he would probably just make the same mistakes that Darlow, Woodman, and Dubravka have made. He doesn't seem to like it under the pressure, so I probably wouldn't even have him for the under 23s at the moment, in my personal opinion.
Matt, the only interesting development to this transfer speculation is that Arsenal are very close to signing a new backup goalkeeper. No, it's from the MLS, so it is interesting. And again, why would Pete Graves put that on Twitter unless he was obviously saying it for Arsenal fans maybe listening out there? But I don't know. I just, with everything that's been going along, would it make sense potentially? And would you like to see Bernd Leno at Newcastle?
It doesn't really make sense, and I can't understand why we would be. Obviously, our goalkeepers, you look at the stats, and they're at the very bottom end of the table when it comes to kind of goals conceded on shots faced and things like that. But it just doesn't. The problem's not there. It's the closing down of the shots before it gets to the goalkeeper. We know Martin Dubravka's a good shot stopper, but he's facing so many shots per game because the defense is rubbish. Obviously, he's prone to a mistake as well. But like Liam says, Bernd Leno, I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole because the lad's 29 going on 30. So he's only got 3 years on Dubravka anyway. He's not been in Arsenal's squad since the start of the season because he's been injured. So he's short of game time. We can't afford to gradually bring someone that back to form. Can't just chuck him in a relegation fight and hope that he's good enough. He's got to work with his defense, marshal his defense. Goalkeeper's a big position to switch around. You can't just chop and change halfway through a season for me. And he wouldn't be cheap either, I don't think. I mean, obviously, if they're looking to offload him, we get him for a cut price. But maybe at the start of next season, if you're still looking for a first-team goalkeeper, maybe you go in with a £5-10 million bid. But it just doesn't make sense. It's not the position we should be strengthening for me, and it just seems like a waste of money. If it's any truth to those rumours at all, I wouldn't touch him like Liam.
Yeah, I think, Harry, do you agree with the other two? Would you not touch Leonard with a barge pole?
No. I mean, Arsenal were woeful at the start of the season. I think they conceded something like 13 in the first 4 games, and he was keeper. Dropped since then, and it looked a lot more solid defensively. No, I wouldn't go near him.
Yeah, well, everyone's in agreement there. If anybody in the comments can say Leno would be a good replacement, tell us why. Tony says I'd have him, but is he much better than Dubravka? I think that's got to be the question. Is he better than what we've got? And I think that's the same with a lot of positions so far. The last thing on transfers, this is to all three of you. If Newcastle can bring in just one more player out of everybody that's been mentioned, who would you like? Harry, I'll start with you on this one.
Diego Carlos. Absolutely. Need a centre-back in.
Matt?
I mean, if it's every player we've been linked with, I'll have Mbappe. No, the ones we talked about tonight, it's got to be Carlos, because, you know, as much of as a farce as the transfer saga has been with him, we need new centre-backs. We need at least one. Yeah, I'd take Botman all day, but he's not coming. So out of the ones we talked about tonight, it's got to be Carlos for me.
Liam?
Well, same answer as everybody else. Diego Carlos, ND of the week.
Diego Carlos, that's the man that all the lads want in terms of now till the end of the January transfer window, which is just about 11 days away. It is going to be so exciting. Make sure you look at OneFootball and Newcastle Fans TV, because we'll get any small information that we know that's definitely going to happen. We'll get it on with speculation. You're not going to see much speculation from us. If it's the truth and it's going to happen, it'll be on here on Newcastle Fans TV. Right, let's talk all things Leeds United. Leeds United versus Newcastle. Just a small matter of a 6-pointer. Really, or a must-win game for Newcastle United, in which is probably the biggest game of the season so far. Now,
we've not been saying about most games in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Watford game, the Leicester game, every other game pretty much so far this season. For people that probably don't know, Matt is actually working on this game, believe it or not. So if you see him celebrating in the Leeds end and he's being kicked out, you'll know why. But in all seriousness, Matt, you know a lot about Leeds United, and they have got a lot of injuries. Can you get us up to speed on what the situation is at Leeds United in terms of this game and how this can benefit Newcastle?
Yeah, well, Leeds United, and it goes with their coach's philosophy as well. They've had very few games postponed through their own fault, and that's because they've got one of the best vaccination records in the Premier League, and they also have a good history of blooding their young players. As well, which means that when it comes to suspensions, they actually have young players with Premier League experience that can fulfill the fixture, which is good news for us given the amount of injuries that they've got. As you can see on your screen, you can see the amount of players they've got on the injury table at the moment. Joe Gelhardt, a young striker that was coming in to fill Patrick Bamford's slot, really promising young lad, similar play style to Wayne Rooney. He is missing. He's out with an injury. Calvin Phillips, of course, England international, arguably Leeds United's most important player. He's been out and he will be out till March. Jamie Shackleton, versatile player that kind of fills in all over the place. He's out. Captain Liam Cooper, marshalling the back line, is out as well. Tyler Roberts, the third choice striker, is out, as well as the other 4 as well. They've got, I think it was the top 4 strikers out, and the only fit striker they will have is Rodrigo. So, and obviously they've got a dangerous attack in Rafinha and Harrison on either side. We saw Harrison score a hat-trick last week, and Rafinha is what Alan Saint-Maximin thinks he is. They're a very dangerous side, and they're very well coached, which is where we'll have problems. You know, they're very weakened at the moment, which is we couldn't ask for an easier time to play them, but there's never an easy time to play this team. Unfortunately, they've got a fantastic manager, and you know his philosophy goes from the top of the first name on the team sheet all the way down to the under 18s. So even those young kids that come in are already ready for first team action. So we've got to watch out for them at the weekend. And you know, you might look at it and say it's an easy-ish game, but then you look at the way they played against West Ham last week, and they absolutely played them off the park. It could have been 4 or 5. It was, I mean, you know, West Ham are nothing to be sniffed at. I think they're still 4th in the table, and Leeds United absolutely battered them. They're on a good run of form. I say good run of form. They've won 2 of the last 3. Obviously, that West Ham game that they lost was in the Cup. And Bielsa coached them to learn from the mistakes, and they've won 3-2 in the league, which is really what matters. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. But, with Chris Wood returning against his former side, you've got to hope that we can nick 3 points.
I wish you would just elaborate a little bit more on Leeds United, Matt, because I don't think a lot of people knew what was going on. But yeah, fantastically put by Matt in terms of all things Leeds United, of course, after that Manchester City demolition, if you want to call it that, 7-0 defeat when they were missing a few players, losing to Arsenal, having a lot of players out due to COVID, and then obviously West Ham losing in the Cup. But what a fantastic win. Bielsa called it a beautiful win last week at the London Stadium. And as Matt has quite rightly said, there has been a lot of teenagers that have made their debuts for Leeds United this season. 8 teenagers have made their debut for Leeds, more than any other Premier League team in history. So that tells you how much faith Marcelo Bielsa has in the youth products of Leeds United. Harry, Rafinha, he is a danger. And when he's on it, by God, Newcastle have got to be careful.
Yeah, brilliant player. Whoever's playing left back for us is going to have a day of all days, aren't they? Yeah, we've got to be careful. Even if we double up on him, even if that means ASM plays on the right or behind Chris Wood, whatever, we need to be careful marking him because he could tear us to shreds. He played brilliantly against West Ham, didn't he? Yeah, unbelievable player. We really need to be careful. He's obviously their main threat. And saying that, their other winger scored a hat-trick. But yeah, no, definitely one to watch.
Look at that, 8 goals so far this season, 2 assists. It's an incredible stats, really, when you think about Alan Saint-Maximin. We should be thinking, well, I should be having about 8 goals so far. Obviously, he's played for Brazil as well, so he's obviously done exceptionally well since he's been at Leeds United. And probably, just when you look at it now, a bit of a coup for Leeds United to get Rafinha in, especially when you look at some of the teams that have been linked with him recently. Bayern Munich is a name that I've seen earlier on in the January transfer window. Liam, another man I want to talk about in terms of Leeds before we're talking about Newcastle is Dan James, because he came from Manchester United for £25 million. Haven't really seen the best of him, but last couple of games, I don't know, maybe he's taken on the mantra of going, well, actually one of the more experienced players that have played in the Premier League for a couple of years now. And his pace will scare Newcastle as well. Maybe Kieran Trippier will be the man that will have to stop Dan James. Do you fancy Kieran Trippier's chances this weekend?
Yeah, all I think is Dan James has just got pace. I think that's pretty much all he's got, really. So all he'll try and do is just kick it past him and just try and hope his pace will get quicker than him. So you think Trippier playing for Atletico Madrid would have a bit of in-game knowledge to try and just try not to let that happen. Do you know what I mean? But it's going to be an interesting battle on either wing. Do you know what I mean, with Rafinha and Dan James if that's how they play.
Yeah, for sure. And they're always exciting to watch. And anytime you watch Leeds United, you're always on the edge of your seat thinking, oh, this is going to be an excellent game. So it should be a case for all those lucky fans that are travelling down to Elland Road like myself on Saturday. Let's talk about all things Newcastle. As you can see, obviously, this is what the preferred lineup, what Leeds normally put. They normally go with a 4-1-4-1 formation. Dan James playing as the false nine at the minute. And obviously, Matt's mentioned Jack Harrison with a hat-trick hero last week, and Rafinha on either side. No Forshaw this weekend as well, and Firpo at left back, who's also injured. So it's going to be a possible chance for 3 points for Newcastle if Newcastle can get it right. And Eddie Howe, as a manager, has taken on Leeds 7 times. Can anybody guess how many times he has won again? How many times he has beaten Leeds United in those 7 games?
0.
0.
Yeah. Harry?
I'm gonna go with 2. I was gonna go with 0, but that reaction wasn't promising. 2.
Well, you're all wrong. You're all wrong. You should be a bit more positive, Liam and Matt. It's 1. He's won 1 game against Leeds and lost 6. So the record doesn't stand very well at all for Eddie Howe when his sides take on Leeds United. However, Matt, we'll start with you on this. How does Eddie Howe go into this game? What does he do differently than he did against Watford, and how he's going to be against Leeds United and Marcelo Bielsa?
I mean, tactically, you've got to set up differently against a team like Leeds United because they press in phases. So you've got to set up your team that's willing to pass the ball and bypass the press. So whether that's John Joe Shelvey picking his head up and looking for runs in behind up with Fraser and saint-maximin, or even getting it long to Chris Wood. Leeds as centre-backs, they are fantastic centre-backs, but they're not the most physical. So Chris Wood could have a field day if he plays his cards right. But they're notoriously good at the press. Leeds, they don't press as individuals, they press as a team. So we've got to have players that are confident on the ball in our side on Saturday. Kieran Trippier, obviously one of those, John Joe Shelvey, another. We've got to be able to play our way out of the press, because if we don't, if we're stuck with Jamal Lascelles and Fabian Schär hoofing it long, we're just going to lose the ball out of possession, and then they're going to hit us with Dan James, Jack Harrison and Rafinha on the counter-attack, and we're going to be in big, big trouble. So I think Eddie Howe's tactically aware enough to set up his team. It's whether those players can execute the game plan to the correct effectiveness, because they're a difficult team to play against. And I'm sure Eddie Howe's been scratching his head all week trying to figure out a good setup for this team. Do you go with 2 up top and try and play big man, little man? Do you play with wingers and try and get down the channels? Leeds pack the midfield out. Is Joe Linton going to struggle with a bit less time on the ball? It's an interesting. I don't know who he's going to start in the starting 11. I'm not entirely sure who's fit and ready to go for us, but it's going to be a difficult one for Eddie Howe because, they're a difficult team to play against. Any manager will tell you that.
Certainly right, Matt. Liam, how important is Chris Wood going to be against his former club? Because he did exceptionally well at Leeds 1 and 2, and he actually scored 4 Leeds against Newcastle at St James's Park right at the very end, where I said that Newcastle have got no chance of winning the championship, and how wrong was I? Chris Wood, how do you think he can get on the score sheet against his former side?
I think he's going to be vital to this. I think we're seeing against Cambridge that when we didn't have a vocal point in the team, we sort of crumbled. Will he get on the score sheet? I think that's hard. I think it depends on the way we want to play. If we're going to play out and out wingers, then he might get on the score sheet, but clearly it didn't work last week. I think Crossing needs to improve, but I think he's going to bring a lot of players into the game. But then if we just play straight down the middle in number 10, I think he might be the one that I might get an assist or 2.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, as well, with Chris Wood, he'd love to score one against his former club. I'm sure Leeds fans will be giving him a lot of stick, because I think he went from Leeds to Burnley, and obviously you can see on your screen now he's done pretty well for Burnley. Obviously this season, only the 3 goals before that £25 million move up to the northeast for Newcastle. So he's looking to break his duck against his former side. Harry, would you make any changes going into this game? I'm thinking maybe Sean Longstaff, again, didn't really shine, in my personal opinion. Lee thought he actually had a good game when we were doing the last word. Again, maybe deserves to be dropped? Would you make any changes in the defence? Would you drop Jamal Lascelles? Dare I even say it? Put Emil Crawford centre half with Fabian Schär. What do you think?
In terms of the defence, the only thing I could see us doing is maybe putting Lewis at left back, although Dummett was fairly solid against Watford. Trippier's obviously going to play, and I don't see him dropping the captain, or I don't think Fernandes is fit, and let's face it, Kieran Clark's not getting back in the team anytime soon. In midfield, I think John Joe Shelvey's place is secure, just because we don't really have another holding midfielder with Isaac Hayden out, and Sean Longstaff or Joe Willock. I think it's 6 and 2 3s. I don't think it really matters which one you pick, because neither of them have impacted the game in a positive manner recently, to be honest. So I think a consistency probably would be better if you give Longstaff a bit of a run. He played well against Man United. I know it's only 1 game, and then he's followed it up with 2 shock performances against Cambridge and Watford. But I think if you just stick with him, it's going to do his confidence a bit better. And to be honest, I think Willock's been shocking this season, so I wouldn't have him. You got to have Joe Linton in the team. So yeah, I reckon the front 3 will stay the same as well, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's what I would do.
Obviously, when you see the form table for Newcastle following that Burnley win, defeats to Leicester, to Liverpool, to Manchester City, a big point against Manchester United, the embarrassing FA Cup defeat to Cambridge last Saturday, and then that 1-1 draw against Watford last week. Form would say, Matt, that Newcastle are due a win. Can they get their first win away from home? And if they do so, how important is Saint-Maximin going to be? Because he's our Rafinha, if you like. can he be the difference this week? Because if he plays and he plays the full 90 minutes, I do expect him to cause Leeds problems.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you didn't come to me for a lineup prediction because I wanted Alan Saint-Maximin dropped despite his goal. I think he's been shocking for us.
Why?
I think he's been our worst player in the last few weeks, despite his goal. You know, his goal was a bit of brilliance. You give him that, and he's capable of that in every game. But he takes away more from this team than he adds to it, and you can't have luxury players against a team like Leeds United. You know, you can afford it against Watford, who give you space and time on the ball and won't press you as high. But he just offers nothing defensively. And when if presuming that we stick with a similar starting 11, he's going to be on that left-hand side. If Rafinha is playing, you need your midfielder to track back, and Saint-Maximin does not track back for you, or he doesn't do it enough or effectively enough. So, I mean, if he plays, you hope he can inspire a bit of brilliance, depending on who's playing where. Luke Ayling doesn't have the best legs on him if he is playing at right back. You'd expect Saint-Maximin to have the better of him. But yeah, he just, for me, there's too much focus through Alan Saint-Maximin when he plays. And it's not the rest of the team's fault. He just doesn't pick his head up. He doesn't pass the ball. We in the group chat before he scored against Watford, we were slagging him off. He said, to take the shot on, take the pass on, move the ball quicker. Every time the ball goes through him, the attack seems to slow down and we lose all of our momentum. And against a team like Leeds, you cannot afford that. If you'd asked us who I'd want starting, I know Liam might shit on us for this, but I'd rather have Almiron starting in a left midfield position because he tracks back a bit more. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree that he should be dropped or at least given his head a wobble, but I can't cope with him this season. He's not the type of player you need in a relegation battle at the moment.
The question I'd ask you in return, Matt, who else is going to score? Because
Chris Wood, hopefully.
as much as we complain about Alan Saint-Maximin, I completely agree with you. He was very, I'll be kind and I'll not swear, but he was irritating on Saturday before he scored. But he does run a lot, Liam, doesn't he? But he scored a fantastic goal, and when he got substituted in Watford, made it 1-1. I'm telling you now, everybody in St James's Park just looked at the players on the pitch going, well, we're not going to score now. As much as he is frustrating, and I'd have a go at him every single time he gives the ball away and is in his own half or on the halfway line, we've got nobody else like that in the team until Callum Wilson comes back, in my opinion. Does anybody disagree with that?
Not really. But I can see where Matt's coming from because obviously Leeds high intensity. Miggy, as Lee jokes, Miggy does run a lot. So with his work rate, he's definitely going to be an assistance on that left-hand side or right-hand side, whichever he plays. But I do agree, yeah, ASM's our only form of end product, whether people say it lacks or not. He's our only form of it at the moment and largely our only form of creativity. So I think it's hard to drop him, even though I think he was awful last week too. Come on, Liam, you feel like you want to say something here.
Oh no, but I just don't think he can drop the SM after he scored, and I know he's frustrating us out for the. I think I've seen a tweet saying someone compared him. He's like 99 minutes, or 89 minutes Gabriel Obertan, and then that 1 minute Ben Hoffa. I think it's just sort of like in a boxing analogy. He's sort of like Deontay Wilder, isn't he? Where he's poor for like the whole 12 rounds, and then that 1 second he just does a big magical, and I think. That is a frustrating thing. So maybe you might have to fit him in Miggy and Ryan Fraser into that team somewhere. So you could go 4-2, 3-1. Because obviously then ESM can sit as a number 10 and then Miggy could just do the running about. But if I was going to drop someone out of that team, it would have been Ryan Fraser. I don't think he particularly had a good game. But if you're looking at his stats, he's got 5 goals in the Premier League so far. He's probably with joint top scorer just behind Callum Wilson, so I don't really think you can drop him at present, even though he is frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously 5 goals in 20, which is 1 in 4. It's going to be so nervous. Like I'll be like me and Matt will be there on Saturday, and I think we'll be like shaking. We'll be like, oh my god, if we were like 1-0 up with about 5 minutes to go, Matthew's got the ball in his own box, I'm going to like cry. But we'll see how we get on. Barbara says, I think Trippier will score. Could you imagine the scenes in the away end if Trippier gets a goal? This is a question for you, actually, Harry. Should Kieran Trippier be the next captain of Newcastle United?
Yes, in my opinion, yeah. I don't see it change until the summer. But, yeah, I think so. I think he was a real leader from minute one when he stepped into that team against Cambridge. You could see him chatting to other players, helping them, guiding them, keeping heads up. Even was it after Watford or was it Cambridge where he told ASM to come out of the tunnel when he stormed off, just showing that he's a true leader, and his experience will really help this squad, I think. That's obviously if he stays beyond the season. But yeah, great captain for me.
Oh, look at that, Robbie. Thank you so much, Robbie. I know you're a Leeds fan, and I don't wish you any luck at all on Saturday. But yeah, smash that like. Try and get as many likes as we can. That'd be fantastic, because obviously this is a huge game on Saturday. I think it's time to get some predictions, because this weekend is going to be very, very big and huge. Liam, where's your money this weekend?
I'm going to go on 2-1 Newcastle, like I always do. If Steve's on the watch along, I'm sure he's going to have a massive rant about how we always score Newcastle winning by massive, ridiculous margins. So I can't wait to listen to that when we get beat. But I'm going 2-1 Newcastle. I'm going to go Wood and Trippier, because I've seen it in the comments. Someone saying Trippier would score. So
Matt.
I was going to go 2-1, but every time I go into a game optimistic, I always get let down. I'm going to go with a more realistic 1-1. Obviously, Rafinha for Leeds. And I'll go with Joe Linton for our goal, because I think it was someone in the comments, Craig, said, the Leeds are awful at set pieces, like at defending set pieces. And Joe Linton had 2 good chances last week from corners, which he maybe could have put away. So a bit of work on the training ground this week. Hopefully he'll put one away against Leeds. So 1-1 for me. Speaking
of Joe Linton, I don't know if he's realised, but he's actually got a decent shot from like medium to long range. Like, he kind of shoot in the box, but he can certainly put his foot
when he's got time to think and get his head down.
Yeah.
When he's not rushed, he's all right. Yeah.
All I'm saying, he's Brazilian. He only costs 40 million, and we think he's fucking brilliant. It's Joe Linton, I'm telling you. Anyway, Harry, what do you think? Who do you think can Newcastle get their first away win of the season?
I don't think so. I'm going to go with the same as Matt. I think it's going to be 1-1. I could see us going behind, and I could genuinely see a late Chris Wood equaliser. But I cannot see us winning, unfortunately.
I'm going to put it out here. I think Newcastle are going to win this weekend. And I think they're going to win 3-2. This game will not end 0-0. Nah. This game will not end 0-0. I think there'll be chances galore. I'm going to go 3-2 Newcastle, and I'm going to say saint-maximin wins it for Newcastle late on. But it will certainly be one for the entertainers. I think it'll be one of the first ones on Match of the Day. I have to be honest. I just think this one's is guaranteed goals. Newcastle can score, but they can defend terribly, and I think Leeds are going to be pretty much the same.
Score?
Yeah.
Well, if you looked, I think since Brentford, we've only scored like a couple of games, and that they've only been like 1 goal. Most of them has been.
We've played Man United, Man City, Leeds, and Leicester. Yes, Cambridge, I'll forget about that, but still. I think Newcastle will win 3-2. And if you want to find out what I'm drinking, I've just had a cup of tea, that's all, before I get that in the comments as well. But yeah, that will wrap things up here, gents. Please like this video, subscribe, Newcastle fans TV. If we're trying to get 40,000 subscribers, any help would be greatly appreciated. We've got all the videos on Saturday. Myself and Lee and Matt will be at Elland Road for Newcastle versus Leeds at Elland Road on Saturday. And we also have the live watch along, which Soccer Steve, American Steve, will be on. I think you're on as well, Liam, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be on till about 5, and then I'm having a board game night, so fun Saturday stuff instead of drinking. So.
And you want to see those board games? He'll tell you those board games on the live watch along as well. But yeah, big game. Get your comments in. Who will Newcastle win, and who will get the goals as well? It'll be fantastic to get all your views. Big thanks to Matt, to Liam, and to Harry, and we'll see you all very soon.
See you later.